Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Patty Adams. Thank you so much for joining us again. I'm the CEO and founder of Scars of the Past Ministry. We support sexual assault survivors using a holistic approach here in the local Beaumont area. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and this April we want to highlight building connected communities. Now, this theme was brought up by the National Sexual Violence Resource Center. And before I go any further, I'm going to read to you a little bit more about what their theme says. And I'm quoting, the motto is, "Our voices have power. Together we can build safe and respectful communities." Building connected communities helps us reduce the likelihood of sexual abuse, assault, and harassment in our communities. Any space where people come together in a community, whether in neighborhood, workplaces, campuses, organizations, or even online spaces, need to have a community that connects and look out for each other. I added that last part. So today, joining us, we have two very elite guests. One is Amy Moore. She is with Lamar State College Orange, and she is the Director of Student Life. Also with us from Lamar State College Orange, we have Hallie Bates. She is the Program Director of Criminal Justice. Please sit back, take some time out to listen to this important message from the ladies as we dig in and find out a little bit more how that university can help our efforts to support sexual assault survivors. Thank you. Hi, ladies. How are you doing today?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you all both for joining me. I really appreciate it. This interview is going to be conducted to talk about building connected communities, and it's all about trying to bring education, awareness, and prevention to sexual assault survivors because April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Now, we're doing this a little bit ahead of time because we want to have time to edit it and do anything that we need to before it goes quote unquote live. So I'm glad that you all was able to take out the time. We're going to start by you all telling me a little bit about your position. And so, Amy, I'll let you start first as Director of Life for Lamar State College Orange. Tell me what you do.
Yes, ma'am. I'm the Director of Student Life here on our campus. We're a two-year community type college, not traditionally a community college. We are a state-funded institution, but we operate much like a community college does in that we have a lot of dual credit classes where we serve high school students. We have a lot of technical programs as well as academic programs. So once our students leave, they either transfer to a four-year university or they go straight into the workforce. My job as the Director of Student Life is to keep them engaged and help them network and help them build connections while they're on campus because we know that students do better when they are in a community. So we try to build that community here through activities and events and guest speakers and organizations. And we really just want them to be well-rounded individuals when they leave our campus.
That is very good. And how long have you been working with them in this position?
I've been in this position 3 years. I've been on the campus. This year is my 10th year on campus.
Oh, wow. So you're a senior, not as in age, as in experience.
Right. And I've worked in several different departments on campus since I started. So I feel like I've seen things from a lot of different angles, which helps in my position, I believe helps me make sure that we're meeting the needs of the students in all the different areas that we have.
Very good. Now, are you the same Amy Moore that was doing some news reporting at some point for Lamar?
Oh, wow. You did some Google stuff, didn't you? Yes,
I
ma'am.
did. I did. Well,
In a
that's
previous life,
awesome.
I was a newspaper journalist for 10 years.
That's wonderful. Yes, I don't want to be interviewing people and don't know a clue about what they do for a living. And so I did enjoy the one that I read where it looks like in 2019, Lamar celebrated his 50th year anniversary. So that lets me know that y'all have to be doing something right if, hey, you're still in existence. You haven't been shut down. So what is
Right.
it? Go
Yep.
Gators?
Go Gators. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And Miss Haley, you're up next. How about you tell me what you do in your position and how long you've been doing it?
Okay. Yeah, so I am the program director for the Criminal Justice Department at Lamar State College Orange. I run that program and I also teach the 10 courses that we supply. And we also have dual credit instructors that teach criminal justice at some of our local high schools too that are also employed with Lamar State College Orange. So I've been in this position for about 8 months now.
Wonderful. Well, let me tell you this, and it has to be because of the criminal justice element. I couldn't find anything on you at all. I said, they
Yeah,
have her locked down.
there's some design to that. Yeah, I was a probation officer before this position, so yeah.
There it goes. So at least I know that my homework has not failed me because I was like, I'm gonna find something, and I mean, I couldn't find anything. So I'll try to keep it under wraps for this interview.
Oh,
So
okay. No worries.
So today we'll more than likely we'll be talking a lot about safety because that is what my main focus is here for the college. Regardless to whether everything checks off those boxes or not, it's not to paint a bad light on Lamar University at all. Sometimes we just need to do things better. And that's in all elements of our life. No matter where we are in our lives, we have to do things better. And so I will let either one of you all start when I say something. I don't want to be like, okay, Haley, you're up, Amy, you're up. If you feel like you know the answer to it, just start. And we're going to start by first one of you all probably know what the mission statement is. You have any idea what Lamar's mission statement is? And if you don't, I'm sure Google's right there in front of you and can tell you.
Right. I was actually on the team several years ago when we rewrote our mission statement. And so I can pull that up, but I know I'd be lying if I said that I knew it by heart. So I'm not even going to try to lie. But I
It's
know
okay. It's pretty
we
short,
want
but
to integrate and we want to help our students be the bridge to success. So I think that was the wording that we chose.
that sounds pretty close. I did look that up as well, and I think that you're on target. And so, Hallie, how do you feel like? Is it Haley or Hallie?
It's Hallie.
Hallie, okay, good. Because I was saying Hallie, and I said, well, some say Haley, but it's usually Hay. So, Hallie, what do you feel about the mission statement? Do you feel like that your criminal justice department fits into what they consider is part of their mission based on what Miss Amy just shared with us?
I believe so. So we have also established a criminal justice student organization on campus. So integrating our students into what the community needs, how we can help out fellow students on campus while also growing the development of our students into trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. There's so many different options in criminal justice. So giving them opportunities to go watch a federal sentencing or to go tour a Bureau of Prisons facility, really just trying to get them fully well-rounded whenever they leave here.
That is great. That was some of my questions. Look at you already answering some of those. I won't show y'all my little notes I have. I pretty much have it here. So thank you so much. And then Amy, let's talk about safety a little bit more. Since you're over student life, you may or not know the answer to this. So this may go back to Haley. I'm not sure. But do you know if there is a sexual violence liaison there on campus? Is there a person that is directly over taking care of sexual assault, violence, or survivors there at the campus?
Right. So because we're a state institution, we have, we're under I believe it's the Clery Act, the Title IX. So
Yes,
we
Title IX.
have a team on campus and they are trained individuals who are part of that Title IX team. So if a student or a faculty or staff member has an issue, they would go to their Title IX representative, and then that team would be the one to investigate that, bring that potentially to campus security, or upgrade that as needed.
Thank you very much. And I did notice that I think you had maybe four, maybe a little bit more, but I did see some research on that also. And that pretty much covers any type of unwelcome sexual innuendos, like sexual harassment or sexual conduct. Anything that would be offensive to that person would fall underneath that particular category. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. And our director of Title IX right now is also our head of security, and he is a former police officer or a former police chief. Wonderful. With somewhere around 30 years experience. So these are not just folks who took an online training and know how to fill out a form. They are trained and educated into making sure that anyone who has a complaint of that nature gets it taken care of, and they know what they're doing. That is very good. And I'll tell you, I haven't dealt with Roman numerals in forever. So when I looked up Title I and the X, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what is that? What is that? And so, yes, I looked that up too. It says Title IX. I was like, y'all are making it way too complicated. But I'm glad that you all have people that's on staff there that can take care of different things. And so, Hallie, I'm going to go back to you, Haley, for a few moments. Tell me a little bit more about what your criminal justice students do. Now, you did mention that there's some training that goes on. Do you know if there's any training specific to dealing with sexual assault or sexual violence?
Well, in our courses that we cover here on campus, like I said, we have about 10 different criminal justice courses.
Yes.
Depending on the type of course it is, we will cover victim information. We'll cover how to interview a sexual assault victim, especially in our criminal investigations courses. And then we'll learn a little bit about law behind some of that in our fundamentals of criminal law class and our court systems and practices class. Our student criminal justice student organization is it's been around for a while, but we're kind of reinvigorating it. So we are definitely open to opportunities to help in any way that we can, whether it's volunteer activities or training or, continuing education. We are happy and open to doing that.
Wonderful. Well, I was super happy, and thank you for that. When I was reviewing the website and I looked under your crime reports and crime statistics, it was like from 2019 to 2020, 2018 to 2020, that was zero under everything, under murders, under unwanted violence. It was like one that they went back and I guess basically had to add it back in because it wasn't in there. And then they went back and they redid the stats and said there was one stalking incident. But I did not see any reports for 2022, 23, 24, or even 21. Do either of you know why the reporting stopped or has not been advertised on the website?
I don't know if there is any specific reason. I know that we are required to report that information, and we are in compliance with all of that on the state level. It potentially just hasn't been updated on the website yet. There is an annual report that goes out through our Title IX office. So I would imagine it just hasn't made it to the website yet. We're currently in the process of our reaffirmation with our accrediting agency. And so there were a lot of changes that were going on with updating the website. So I would imagine that list is probably, or that web page is probably on that list. But I would, I had jumped to the end of your question before you asked your question. So I'd prepared an answer before you even asked it, and then you didn't ask it. But I will tell you that what I thought you were going to ask was why our numbers are so low. And I will say that we don't have dorms on our campus. And so all of our students drive to campus and drive home every day. So I would say, even though you didn't ask, I'm going to say it because it's in my head. I have to say it now. That was one thing. I think that plays a big part in why our statistics are so low, is because as opposed to other campuses that have students who live there, we don't. So we don't have the numbers that other campuses would.
Well, I have to tell you, Amy, I don't believe in psychics, but you just did it perfectly because that was going to be my next question. So I'm glad you had it in your head and you also let it come out because that was good. And I did look under the annual report, and the numbers that I gave was what it showed under the annual reporting for 2023. Yet it didn't have anything on there for 21, 22, or 23, which is why I asked the question again, not to shine a bad light, but because I want to know. I looked at those numbers and I thought if I was out looking for a college to go to right now, I would definitely want to come to Lamar. I am a sexual assault survivor, unfortunately 4 times. And so safety is a huge, huge, huge issue for me to all feel safe. And so do you currently know of any students that have had to deal with any type of safety issues at your campus that you all have been made privy to, or that they've come because they trust you as a person on campus to say, hey, I can go and talk to Miss Amy, or I can go and talk to, Miss Hallie, and they will help me with this. Do you know of any safety issues? And I don't want specifics. I just want to know in general.
I can't speak for Hallie, but I can say, my office is in the student center where a lot of students come and go. So I've encountered a lot of students who have mentioned, that there's this particular other student always seems to be like at my car or in the hallway right outside of class. And so what we'll do is we escalate that to our Title IX team, and they do the investigation of if this warrants, an actual report or if it's a conversation with the student. But we have like I said, our security team does really well, and talking to whomever feels uncomfortable, I will talk to them to let them know that we don't take those things lightly, and we will. We've never had to do it since I've been here, but if we have to remove a student from campus or tell them, you can come to campus, you can come to class, but you can't hang out on campus if you're not, actively in class. I know those are things that are options on the table. So like you, Miss Patty, my daughter is a victim of sexual assault, and so these are things that
sorry
I
to hear
take
that.
very seriously.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't want our students to ever have to worry about issues that could could interfere with their learning. So, so what if any student comes to me about anything, we handle it, we take care of it.
That is wonderful. Thank you for that. And I'm sorry to hear about your daughter, because even with being in school, and I had a lot of triggers during that time. And so now we're talking many years ago when I was actually in my high school. I won't talk about my college years because I was pretty much all online. But somebody just dropped a book one day and it wasn't on purpose. It was just by accident. And I literally levitated out of my seat because loud noises is something that still triggers me to this day. And so that's why, again, I feel like it's so helpful for universities, for college and things of that nature to know that these type of things exist. And so that that person can get help, because sometimes that sexual assault survivor isn't going to come and say what's going on. They're just going to freak out. And so having people like you and Hallie there that can help them is just super, super important for me. And so the next question, Miss Criminal Justice person over here, you're a probation officer, and I understand that on your website, if requested, they have someone that will escort you to your car if you feel unsafe. Does that still exist?
Amy might be able to speak more to that.
Okay. Amy,
Yeah,
you're
yeah, absolutely. Our security team will take whatever precautions a student has requested, reasonable requests. But our campus is in a low economic area, and at night when students are leaving classes, if they whether they've been victims or not, our security team will escort them from the class to their car and make sure they get in their car and out safely. They do that pretty regularly. We have a lot of classes that get out after dark, and students, if they don't feel comfortable, can have that escort to make sure that they get on the road safely.
very good. So, Haley, you work in criminal justice and you were a probation officer. Were you ever a law enforcement officer?
So it kind of depends. Law enforcement, not necessarily.
Okay.
As a probation officer in the state of Texas, you do not enforce law. You are a supervision officer over the defendants that you have on your caseload. So you are required to make sure they are attending their classes, their court-ordered classes, and making sure they're abiding by the rules and conditions that the judge has set forth. So when I was state probation for 5 years, then I went to federal probation.
Mhm.
So I was a federal probation officer, and in that capacity, we carried firearms. But similar to state probation, not necessarily to enforce law, but to protect ourselves
Correct.
whenever we go and do field visits and out in the public and that sort of thing. So not necessarily law enforcement, more of a community corrections type of role.
I love that. I love that. I actually, when I lived in Crestview, Florida, and I told you all both on the phone that we moved here, but even though Texas is my home, I had opportunity to go through the community law enforcement or community police academy, I think is
Yeah.
what it was called. Citizen Police Academy is what it was
Yep.
called in Crestview. And it was so helpful because we could just get to see a small little minute of what really goes on. And the rest we see is what's on the news, which isn't always accurate of what our amazing courageous people do day to day as our law enforcement. And so being able to go through that class, I would encourage anyone that haven't done that to actually go through it, including your students if they haven't had a chance to do that. And so I promised that I wouldn't keep you all long. I will leave you with this. Is there anything that either of you feel is lacking on your campus in regards to keeping the students safe? Anything you feel the campus as a whole could do better?
Feel like we do a pretty decent job with our students. I know that through my department, we have provided through a partnership with agencies in the area, a mental health first aid class. So we offer that regularly to our students as well as our faculty and staff. So not necessarily related to sexual assault, but very closely tied to it. And that training allows our students and our faculty and staff to know how better to respond to their peers in crisis, and for faculty and staff to know what to do if a student comes to them in a mental health crisis situation. Our employees are all, because we're state employees, are what considered responsible employees. So if a student does come to them, whether they're on the Title IX team or not, specifically related to sexual assault, we are required to report that and could be fired if we don't. So so I feel like those policies in place help ensure that our faculty and staff know how best to help our students. And then we also, every April, we have a Sexual Assault Awareness Month event where we bring in guest speakers. We brought in Brittany Piper and Lavinia Masters and some big names in that realm who can share their stories, but also provide resources. And we also bring in our community partners who can provide the counseling or the forensic services and the law enforcement support. So we can talk about things that don't get talked about enough to make people feel more comfortable talking about it, right? Because, you know, a sexual assault in and of itself is a traumatic event. If it doesn't get handled correctly, it can become a much larger issue for that student, for that staff and faculty. So we want to make sure that we provide those resources so that the students can be successful and our faculty and staff can be of assistance and in any way throughout the process.
Very good. Well, kudos to Lamar for having all those resources listed. I did notice that on your services, you have a long list, regardless of what you're going through on a safety issue. If you need help, there should be no reason for any student to ever say, I didn't get the help that I need, because they have these two beautiful ladies that's sitting in front of me right now. And I say that not just because, oh, we're on camera. No, I think that you all are two beautiful souls and that you all do a great job for the campus. But having those resources listed, because everybody's not like me where they'll go and maybe talk to someone. They just want to say, hey, let me go out here and look and see under student life if there is any help. You know, let me go and talk to Miss Haley and ask her, under criminal justice, is there a specific police officer you can refer me to, because I don't feel comfortable just talking to that investigator or the person that I've been assigned to. All of these things have to fit together. And so I'm so happy to have you all as our team community, because I believe that you all are the essence of building connected communities together. And so I'm not going to keep you, because I believe that time is valuable and we all have those chaotic lives and chaotic jobs, but I want to give you an opportunity to say anything you want to say before I end this video.
I have one more thing to say too,
Absolutely,
just as
please.
an addition.
Yes.
We have a criminal justice advisory board. We have 13 local criminal justice practitioners that are on that board.
Oh, that's
I know that
wonderful.
if I picked up the phone and I needed any one of them for any type of situation like this, we have people from the district attorney's office. We have local police officers, constables, that sort of thing. So we have a really good group of resources available for that.
That is wonderful. Well, I tell you what, my hope is that this video will go viral. No, I'm no big known sensation, but in the sense that other college and universities will emulate what you all are doing, because I don't think that everyone is at the level that you're at right now. And I would love to see them get there and care about safety to the level that you and your staff care about the safety as well. So stay around and chat with me for a little bit. We're going to go ahead and head off, but thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.